So last week, it was announced the Seahawks had delayed their visit with Colin Kaepernick. Delayed is code word for he's still going to do his anthem protest. We're backing off. We don't want any part of him. That's exactly what the hell it is. Don't try and put any other positive, dopey spins on it. They found out he still plans on protesting, and they said they don't want any part of it. Well, I'll say this. I know talking about this topic is going to bring up a magnet for literally a dumb dick diarrhea storm in the comments section from all perspectives. It's whatever. But courage is not for the cowardly. So I'm going to talk about it anyways. Because to me, there's stupidity from all perspectives on this. Like, from the NFL and the Seahawks standpoint, can you blame them for not signing the guy? In theory, it's not the best optics. It would bring a distraction. While in theory, he would seem to be a great logical fit as a backup to Russell Wilson there in Seattle, and that locker room and the culture that organization has would seem to be more embracing and warm towards somebody like Kaepernick, who has taken this kind of social activism type of stand. You can't be that surprised that they wouldn't want any part of it. But the reality is no matter what they do, this is kind of one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't type of situations. Because if you sign Kaepernick, people are going to be pissed, and you don't sign Kaepernick, people are going to be pissed. You could talk about, well, the anthem protests are bad, and you're driving away white viewers. Well, on the flip side, you don't have Kaepernick in the league, you're also driving away black viewers too. So no matter what, you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't in this type of situation. But if you're the Seahawks, you had to realistically think that Kaepernick was going to continue his protest, because it's not like anything has really fundamentally changed, so why all of a sudden, all the hell, would he have a change of heart? He was willing to lose an entire season over these protests. What makes you think now he would change his mind? And frankly, from Kaepernick's standpoint, if he did that, he'd lose a lot of respect, because he would just basically be selling out to the man for a freaking paycheck. His principle only mattered so much until it came time for him to profit. At least he kind of holds his own moral high ground in that sense. If you're Kaepernick, you can't be surprised that they wouldn't want any part of you. Because, yes, it's ridiculous that you went an entire year without being signed by somebody. Everybody knows why. It's obvious. There are not 60 quarterbacks in the league better than Kaepernick. But you must also understand that when you go down this path and you become as socially aware and socially active as you have been, and take on these causes, and not everybody's going to agree with that. Not everybody's going to support that. And especially when you are not just a regular player, but you are a quarterback in the National Football League, you are held to a higher standard. And when you look at social media and different things, it's hard to discern whether Kaepernick wants to be a social activist or if he wants to be an NFL quarterback. And if you were talking about throwing a few $1 million at a guy to be your backup or be one injury away from being your starter, you would like to know just how dedicated to his craft he's going to be. Now, me personally, I think it's ridiculous to suggest that he can't both be a professional athlete and be socially active. You've got guys like LeBron James, over the years, Muhammad Ali, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Russell, Jim Brown. They were able to be social activists and still be great professional athletes at the same time. But again, none of those were NFL quarterbacks. And as far as Kaepernick goes here, he has to understand that's the reality is people are going to look at him and say, how dedicated is he really to it? Outside of all the other political garbage that goes along with it. And it's a fair question to ask. It really, really is. Now, all these people that sit there and get so pissed about him disrespecting the flag are the same people that cry like snowflakes when conservatives get kicked off of college campuses and aren't allowed to speak. And yeah, that aggravates me to no end from all perspectives. To me, the most important amendment to the Constitution is the First Amendment. That's why it's the first one. Because without the fundamental tenets of freedom of and from religion, the freedom of speech, freedom of press, to me, everything else crumbles, up to and including your stupid precious guns. Doesn't matter if you have your guns, if you live in a place that you can't speak freely and be free to do what you want without the fear of repercussions. And it's ridiculous that conservatives in some of these places aren't allowed to speak on college campuses. Like, as soon as you ban them, those people you don't agree with have won. It's like if somebody on here, on YouTube, disagrees with me and I disagree with them, if I try to get them removed from YouTube, I lose. They immediately win. Because clearly I lack the courage or confidence in my belief and convictions to take on that person head on and meet them there. I'm trying to change it. I'm trying to suppress it. I'm trying to block it. And if somebody does that to me, then they lose instantly no matter what. So you're mad about this expression of free speech, but you're mad that these cats over here can't express their free speech. Can we see the hypocrisy here? And it goes the reverse. You support this free speech from Kaepernick, but you don't like this free speech if it's somebody that's far right or something. Look, the purpose of protecting free speech is not to protect the popular speech. It is most specifically to protect the unpopular speech. And yes, that goes whether you are Black Lives Matter or Antifa, or if you are some type of supremacist hate group in Charlottesville. If you are not breaking the law, you have the right to express yourself, specifically without fear of consequences and repercussions. That's the way this is supposed to work. Now, the trick with that is when you're talking about Kaepernick, he's doing these things, these protests, as an employee for a company, as an employee of an organization. Furthermore, the last I could check, more often than not, the stadium that he chooses to do it in is private property, not public property. So you can get into a real gray area, real sticky situation when you talk about those constitutional rights and how they apply versus how they don't apply. And, you know, in situations like private property, it's why you can't just go on to anybody's freaking house. If they have a sign posted up or anybody's business and they say no firearms, no exceptions, tough shit. That's their property. You are now entering their property. If they don't want you to have the firearm and you want to go there, then guess what? You're going to leave your firearm behind. That's the way it works. Same thing with Kaepernick. They don't necessarily have to give it to him. But the whole thing to me that kills it is it's the NFL and the media that really tried to make this a big freaking deal. Because the NFL, of course, is getting all this money, there's millions and millions of dollars from the freaking U.S. military to put out this propaganda, and that's all it is. And if you can't see that, you're a moron. Oh, we're going to show the color guard. We're going to show the big 100-yard American flag. And we're going to sit there and make sure we show the national anthem because that has anything to do with the freaking game of football. Give me a break. All these idiots sitting there bitching about him taking a knee. How many of you fat asses sit on your ass the whole time while the national anthem is playing on television? I don't remember as a taxpayer saying, hey, let's go ahead and give millions of taxpayer dollars to the freaking NFL so that way we could use it to do this nationalistic propaganda bullshit so that way people could feel all good inside and get warm and fuzzy towards the military so that way we can be supportive of them when they go bomb Syria for dumb dick reasons or any of these other entanglements that our industrial military complex loves to get us involved in. You know, it's stupidity all the way around. Like, to me, Kaepernick's number one flaw is you can't sit there and talk about free speech and the importance of trying to change the system and that you care that much if you supposedly never bothered to register to vote or never actually voted. So one of the ways you can help change things, you choose to abstain from. And I don't want to hear it's rigged and it's two-party. Bullshit. Yes, it is rigged, and yes, it is two-party. But if you care enough, you go grassroots, you start at the local level, and you affect positive change there, and eventually it bubbles up. You don't have to vote for the two major party candidates. You can support other candidates. You can help fund other candidates in their campaigns. That's how you make positive changes happen at the local and then the state, and hopefully, as a result, the federal level. But you can't sit there and talk about how much you care, and you can't get off your fucking duff to vote. I'm sorry, I have no respect for that whatsoever. I feel like everybody should vote, even if they vote for a fucking Harambe or whoever the hell they vote for. They vote for Beyonce or they vote for Chuck Norris or whoever the hell. They have exercised their right to vote. They have at least had their voice heard. They have a right then to complain about the process. Kaepernick has no reason not to vote. He chooses not to, so fuck him. I'm sorry. I don't care. His major mistake, though, was that he tried to lone wolf it. It's not just the approach of what you're doing and what do you really hope the end game to be. Because I understand why he's doing it. And in theory, the why, I agree with. The how it was implemented was idiotic. Trying to go alone or have one or two other guys here and there jump in isn't going to help you, isn't going to help them. You're all just going to get blacklisted and blackballed by the league. You have to do two things. You either A, have to make sure you get the vast majority of the black players to join in with you, because if you got that large of a number of the players, especially when you're talking about the black players involved in protesting this and taking a knee during the national anthem, I promise you it will force some type of change to happen, at least from the NFL's perspective. And number two, it's going to be really hard to blacklist half the damn league. Because eventually, even the people that'll sit there and talk about, oh, I can't believe these guys are allowed to do this. I hate them. I'm not going to watch until they stop this crap. Even though it's all like 2 minutes. Shut up. But then all of a sudden, it's a bunch of white boys running around. They could be like, this ain't the NFL either, son bitch. I need my athletes. I mean, that's what would happen. His mistake was he didn't get enough people involved to the point where it became no longer feasible fiscally, from an optics standpoint, from a product standpoint, for teams in the league and the NFL to collude and blackball and blacklist these guys. Like if you sit there in your Kaepernick and you got 200, 300 players, are you going to take that entire segment of the player population out of the league the next year? That's not happening. Like all of a sudden, if you've got Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, and I'm not saying all these guys should feel like they have to or would, but if you're talking about taking your biggest and brightest stars in the league, like if all of a sudden you've got these guys and that guy, and it's all over the place all throughout the league and every team, what's a team going to do? Let 4 of their 5 best players go because they took a knee during the anthem for 2 minutes? Give me a break. Bullshit. Or the second option would have been to try and get some more white players involved besides just Chris Long and a couple of others like Seth DeValve. Because if you could get, let's say, just throwing it out there, if you got like a J.J. Watt involved and an Aaron Rodgers involved and you got some of them involved, I promise you those guys aren't getting blackballed or blacklisted from the league. We know that ain't happening. What, you're going to sit there and get mad at Aaron Rodgers freaking taking a knee during the national anthem and not let him play in the NFL anymore? Are you fucking kidding me? You must be insane. Just because you don't agree with a political position? Good God. That's the mistake that was made here. And the whole thing, again, is just so ridiculous. I mean, the fact that a year later Kaepernick still hasn't been signed, the fact that he or people that support him would be surprised that he still hasn't been signed, the fact that teams in the league would be surprised that he would still want to protest, the fact that these teams in the league are still sitting there and so stubbornly digging their heels in, this is something that will probably gain momentum over time. Unless the fear comes in that you can't get enough other players involved to where guys are going to be afraid that they will be colluded out of the damn league. If you get enough of them at some point, there will be enough of a power of voice and strength in numbers where the NFL and teams can't ignore it anymore. You can't sit there and just try to collude against these guys because you won't have a damn league. But again, there are things I agree with on Kaepernick on, and other things he's an idiot. There are things where I understand the NFL and team's position here, and there are other areas where they are idiots. With all the different segments of the population of NFL fans, and where they line up on this, I feel like there's hypocrisy abound, and stupidity abound. And just know this, is that there's a very good chance that Colin Kaepernick never plays in the National Football League again. He better hope that Alliance of American Football will have him, because it doesn't even sound like Vince McMahon in the XFL will have him. The dude just had a 10-year-old kid win the tag titles at WrestleMania, but we can't have somebody with no criminal record sit there and be in our league because he takes a knee during the national anthem. Oh, it just comes down to one of these fundamental things. Free speech is free speech until you don't agree with it, then everybody gets butthurt and starts acting like snowflakes about it. And that goes to both the conservatives and the liberals. Y'all act like a bunch of crybabies and petulant brats on this. If Kaepernick's protest bothers you that much, get over it. Try to look at it from a different perspective. If you're somebody who supports Kaepernick's protest, maybe you should advocate to him to be better and smarter about how he goes about this. Maybe you should also call him out for the hypocrisy of not voting while emphasizing the good things that he has done in the community to help different charitable organizations. But also maybe point out the hypocrisy of tax dollars going to the military to then fund this propaganda. But we can't automatically just talk about these people that don't like it as bad people. Because after years and years and years of nationalistic propaganda being pounded down everybody's throats, especially depending on the perspective, it's very easy to understand why so many people get so emotionally attached to the American flag and what it represents. A lot of people that have served in the military, a lot of people who have had friends, family members, loved ones that have fought in the military and maybe died in the military. You know? I mean, just think about it. Everybody should take a step back and think a little bit. But nobody's 100% right here. It's like, it's the land of the village of the idiots. And everybody can think they're right to the nth degree, but as so often the case, even though we try to make it as black and white and possible, it really isn't black and white. It's very, very gray. Like I said, though, Kaepernick, I can't imagine him suiting up again in the NFL at this point. He didn't get signed last year. There's nobody else knocking on the door. Hell, Eric Reed can't even get signed right now. And we think Kaepernick will? Nope. It's the price you pay sometimes for speaking out, unfortunate or not, especially when you don't think it out very well.